I've decided to have Mom come live with us. My husband's sudden cohabitation announcement nearly made me drop my cup. What? You can't just spring something like that on me. It's impossible here. Mom's been left alone and is very sad, so I was thinking she could stay with us for a while. She'll move in next week. I was, of course, worried about my mother-in-law, who had suddenly lost her husband in a car accident. But why on earth would he decide on living together without consulting me? I was angry about the sudden news but tried to convince myself that it would be okay for just a short while. However, to my astonishment, the following week my mother-in-law arrived with a moving company in tow. Oh, what's all this stuff? What's going on here? I sold my house because it's definitely more comfortable here. I thought if I'm going to move, I might as well. What? When I looked at my husband, he was grinning mischievously at me. Didn't I tell you I was going to invite Mom to live with us? This is my house. You need to obey the orders of the head of the household and make sure you take good care of Mom. What head of the household? What are you talking about? This is the place I'm renting from my cousin Lisa, remember? Have you forgotten something that important? I know that, but right now, I'm the one paying the steep rent here. If you can't obey me, then get out of this house. Although $2,500 is just half of the rent, I wanted to argue, but I decided it was better to let them face reality squarely, so I held back what I wanted to say. I packed my belongings into a suitcase and silently decided to leave the house. This is no good. After leaving the apartment, I signed heavily and made a phone call. I'm Sarah Johnson, 35 years old. I opened a facial spa 7 years ago. I went to vocational school to become a beautician, but during my studies, my career aspirations shifted. Believing that true beauty starts with healthy skin, I decided to start my own business after years of training at a salon. My husband, Kyle, and I have been married for 3 years and have been living together. Kyle was a high school classmate, and we reconnected at our 10-year reunion. While chatting excitedly with friends about our obsession with natural stone bracelets at the time, Kyle cut in. If you want to boost your love luck, maybe rose quartz would be better. Why and how do you know that? Oh, I got interested in gemstones a while back. You know, we're getting to that age where marriage and serious relationships come to mind, and I just thought rose quartz seemed promising for that. Kyle, with his hair still tousled from sleep as usual, piqued my interest with his casual remark. He was always known as bedhead among the girls at school due to his odd hair, and I knew he was indifferent to his looks or rumors, but I never imagined he was so knowledgeable. Later at the after-party, I found out he was also into my favorite anime, and he shared lots of rare insights. From there, taken with Kyle, I started reaching out, and eventually, it led to us dating. Today marks our 2nd anniversary of dating. I want to be with you next year too, so how about we get married? Is this a proposal? Yeah, what else would it be? I just didn't expect you to say it so casually. Kyle was an odd guy, but he was a fun and comfortable presence for me, and I saw no reason to refuse. 2 years into our marriage, an opportunity, or rather, a golden chance, came my way. It was an incredible offer from my beloved older cousin Lisa. Lisa, who was 10 years my senior, had always doted on me since I was a child. Since we were both only children, we were still very close like sisters. Her proposal was indeed marvelous, but it might have been too stimulating for us as a couple, or perhaps just for Kyle. I never expected that it would lead to such a conclusion. Starting next month, my husband's job is taking us abroad for 2 years. Sarah, why don't you live in our condo while we're gone? Ah, no way. I can't afford the rent for a place like that. Lisa's husband, John, has been successful with his business since he was young and is way richer than I could ever imagine. Lisa herself became an independent management consultant a few years ago and has been steadily increasing her profits. Sarah, you mentioned before that you can't seem to make more than $55,000 a month, right? Why don't you try living like a celeb for once? If you start taking that kind of environment for granted, you might just solve all your current problems in one go. I see, so you're saying to change my perspective on money. That's right. Our rent is $30,000, but if you're going to live there, I'll let you have it for $6,000. How about it? My head spun. Even my current rent of $1,800 feels steep, but honestly, I really liked our current place and didn't want to let it go, but John said he was okay with renting it out to us as an investment. The owner of Lisa's condo is a friend of John's, Mr. Otmo, who supports entrepreneurs. When Lisa brought up my story, he agreed right away. I get that it's a good offer, but can I discuss it with Kyle before I decide? Of course. I'll be looking forward to your response. At this point, I'd been running my salon for 5 years, but no matter how hard I tried, there was a limit to what I could do alone. I had almost given up on the idea that my monthly income would ever exceed $10,000. The mere thought of the amount was already pressuring me. When I trudged home, my husband was deep into his new workout routine. I cautiously brought up Lisa's offer. Why not? It'd be a bigger space and super close to work. Kyle said, less concerned with overtime. He worked as an in-house designer for a corporation. He's the type who wants to spend his time only on what he likes. Commuting from Lisa's condo would cut down the travel time significantly. But it'll be a bigger financial load than before, you know. It's for your growth, isn't it? I'm fine either way, so just work it out with Lisa. Even after marriage, my husband has been indifferent to anything outside his interests. Probably except for the shorter commute, he wasn't really interested in the details. Even as I explained the terms of living there and the rent, he just nodded, and I wondered if he was actually listening. After much thought, I decided to take on the challenge and move in, agreeing to pay half the rent, $1,500, while my husband would cover the other half, and I'd handle all our living expenses. I was determined to gamble these 2 years on my life. Wow, this is amazing. That's incredible, was our first reaction when we stepped into the high-end rental property. I thought we could actually live in the side closet for shoes, and the living room, which was over 430 square feet, seemed perfect for throwing a grand party. The standard feature was a white leather sofa in the vast space. We were told to use the furniture and appliances as they were, but they were all kinds I'd never afford in my life. It hardly felt like home. We had never even stayed in a hotel suite, so the place felt incredibly lavish, almost uncomfortably so. Now I understood what Lisa was talking about. If we get used to this environment, our perspective might really change. And so our life in a luxury condo began. Familiarity can be a frightening thing. Within 3 months, the place we used to tense up in started feeling like a sanctuary. It even changed my approach to work. Since we moved here for a reason, I started thinking about what we could do to take advantage of the location. I'm thinking of taking the plunge and hiring someone for my salon. I'm considering doing workshops or something with the extra time. That's what people have been requesting, right? If you want to do it, Sarah, you should give it a shot, Kyle encouraged. I'd run a beauty-related social media account personally and had requests for a while to host workshops or tea parties where people could talk to me directly. Since then, it's been a trial and error process, learning and practicing every day. It was exhausting, but the results were well received, and before I knew it, I was easily making over $10,000 a month. I changed, but the environment also had a big impact on my husband, Kyle. How, you ask? His appearance changed. He probably thought it would be problematic for the neighbors if he continued to neglect his appearance. He's making sure his hair is neat and he's dressing sharper when he goes out. Although, as a result of getting ready to go out, the house ends up a mess. You know, I started getting approached by people at work who I've never talked to before. I bet even I think you look the best you ever have. The first year after we moved, our life was really going well. The dark cloud loomed when my mother-in-law, who found out about our new place through the New Year's cards, came to visit. She has a hobby of taking classes and has a lavish, vain personality. I was surprised when I saw the address. "What an amazing house," she exclaimed. "I never imagined Kyle would move into a place like this. I'm so proud," my mother-in-law exclaimed, as surprised as we were. "Oh, this house is right. I can step up when I need to," Kyle said, cutting me off, grinning as if he had rented the place himself. Then he gestured for me to be quiet with a finger to his lips. "The class I attend is close by. It's easy to stop by on my way home, so I'll be dropping in from time to time. Sure, just make sure to let us know before you come over. I know that. I had a bad feeling about this. After retiring, my father-in-law enjoyed fishing with his buddies and often went on trips. Because of this, my mother-in-law started to come over to stay more often when he was out. What bothered me was her sleeping on our white living room sofa. No matter how many times I told her, even laying out a futon on the floor, I'd find her sleeping on the sofa. Mother-in-law, please don't sleep on the white sofa. This is a rented place. Oh, sorry about that. It's just so comfy that I end up sleeping here without realizing. Initially, my mother-in-law was well-behaved like a guest, but gradually she started acting as if it was her own house. She was careless with the furniture and appliances, and I was constantly worried she might damage something. Hey, don't you think you're coming over too often, mother-in-law? This isn't our house. You should hold back a little. What? Let me enjoy it too. This kind of lifestyle doesn't come around often. Plus, you've been asking me to clean the house every time I come. It's been handy for you, right? Kyle hadn't corrected the lie he told my mother-in-law. Since he started dressing properly, he'd become really sloppy at home. Having my mother-in-law around to easily ask to tidy up must have been convenient for him, but the cleaning she was supposedly doing only happened at the beginning. Sarah, the house is a mess. Don't just sit there, vacuum the floor. The bathroom is soaking wet. When I got home from work, my mother-in-law was there more often, scolding me. Kyle was influenced by his mother and started blaming me, increasing my stress after coming home. Yet, since my father-in-law was often away from their house, I felt somewhat relieved that the situation couldn't get much worse, but as my mother-in-law's visits increased, another source of stress piled up for me. My husband had been coming home late. There were nights he came back drunk in the middle of the night, or sometimes he didn't come home until the morning. Occasionally, the smell of perfume lingered on him. When confronted, he said he was hooked on trying out new bars lately. Cut it out already. It's fine to go out for drinks, but coming home in the morning isn't normal. And how much are you spending on drinking anyway? I'm giving you enough for expenses, aren't I? How I use my money is my business. Just leave it be. I was shocked because he never used to talk like this, but there was something else I had to say. You've been wearing John's suits from the closet, haven't you? Do you think that's okay? What? You use Lisa's clothes and bags without asking, right? I was dumbfounded. Did he think it was okay to just use anything in the house as he pleased? I always get permission and take them to the cleaners afterward. Have you got permission from John? Well, you'd handle that part. Make it sound good. John's suits are really cool. They fit me perfectly since we're about the same height, and I get a lot of compliments. I was furious. Of course, the suits of our landlord, who could afford such a nice house, would be stylish. If he ruined them, there was no way he could afford to replace them. Stop it. Stop it right now. Take care of what you've used and don't ever wear them again. Would you quit nagging? Seriously, you're so annoying. I'm in my prime for attracting attention. If you keep this up, I'm out of here. Divorce. I mean it. I felt as if a century-long love had gone cold. The man in front of me was no longer the husband I knew. But then, an unexpected event happened. My father-in-law had an accident while out fishing and passed away. Caught up with funeral arrangements, I had forgotten about these problems. But after the 49-day mourning period settled, my husband dropped a bombshell. I've decided to have Mom move in with us. I almost dropped my cup when my husband suddenly declared they would live with us. What? You can't just spring that on me. It's not possible here. Mom's really sad being all alone suddenly, so I thought we'd live together for a while. But how can you decide that on your own? She'll move in next week. Next week? Why didn't you discuss this with me sooner? Sorry, but I thought you'd understand, Sarah. I was upset by the sudden news, but if it's just for a short while, maybe it's bearable. I was worried about my mother-in-law, who had just lost her husband, but the way my husband had decided on their living together without consulting me made me feel betrayed. The following week, to my surprise, my mother-in-law arrived with movers. What's all this about? I asked, bewildered. This place is much more comfortable than my old house. I thought, why not, and sold the house to move here, she replied nonchalantly. What? I looked at my husband, who was grinning at me. I told you we were going to have Mom move in, right? But I said it wasn't possible here, and you said it was only for a while. This house is big enough. One more person won't hurt. He had planned to live with his mother here all along. I didn't know what he had told his mother, but selling her own house to move in. I had a headache, and then my husband said something even more absurd. This is my house. You'll follow the head of the household's orders and take care of Mom. What head of the household? What are you talking about? This house is borrowed from Lisa, remember? Had he forgotten such an important detail? I know, but right now, who's paying the steep rent? Me, right? My husband had always been indifferent to money and possessions, but I never imagined he'd be so careless as to forget details about this house. When he was single, Kyle lived in a cheap apartment that cost just $500 a month, so I could understand why he'd think $33,000 a month for rent seemed outrageously expensive. But did he seriously believe someone would rent us this property for such a price? If you can't listen to your husband, then pack up and leave. You've become so annoying with all your nagging lately. That's right, his mother chimed in. Thanks to Kyle, we're living this good life, and here you are complaining like an ungrateful spouse. I felt like I finally understood my husband's scheme. Ever since we moved into this house and started getting attention from everyone around us, he probably found my reminders about his spending habits and coming home late annoying. He was trying to kick me out without even realizing his massive misunderstanding. Fine, I'll leave. But are you sure that's what you want? Yeah, I'm done with you. I'm going to live here with Mom. With Dad's inheritance and the money from selling the family home, we'll be just fine. I'll send the divorce papers to the salon later. So that's why he called his mother. I could have argued, but I decided to let them face reality on their own. Biting back my retort, I packed my things into a suitcase and silently left the house. Once outside the apartment, I sighed deeply and told Lisa, "What? No way I'm going to let him treat my cousin like that. Just wait a month. Once I'm ready, I'll come back home," Lisa said furiously. She decided to return home half a year earlier than planned. About a month later, I received a call from Kyle. I had received the divorce papers right after leaving, but I knew this call wasn't about that. I thought about ignoring it, but the phone kept ringing. Reluctantly, I answered it and heard Kyle's panicked voice. "Sarah, finally. The management company says the rent hasn't been paid. I've been making the payments as usual. Please, can you check with Lisa what's going on?" "Did you check the bank account?" I asked. "Yeah, it's got $3,000 in it." I almost burst out laughing. I hadn't made any deposits into that account and had withdrawn the balance after leaving the apartment. With just $3,000, you won't even cover the utility bills, let alone rent. How embarrassing it must be to live in a luxury apartment and have your electricity cut off. Why didn't you leave enough money in there? Why should I pay the utilities for a place I don't even live in anymore? He went silent, probably realizing the absurdity of his request. "You have the day off tomorrow, right? I'll come over so we can talk." Yeah, sure. I'd appreciate it," he said, sounding deflated even through the phone. "That's what he gets for overstepping. I'll make sure he cleans up his own mess." The next day, I went to the apartment with Lisa, who had just returned from abroad. I could have used my key, but I rang the doorbell out of courtesy. It was my mother-in-law who answered. "Yes, who is it?" "Sarah." "Why are you back? Didn't you get a divorce?" "Yes, I did. I'm here to have you vacate the apartment." "What?" She was shocked, and Kyle showed his face behind her, looking guilty. He hadn't told her about the current situation yet. But the moment he saw Lisa standing behind me, his eyes widened. "Lisa, why are you here?" "I got a call from Sarah and had to come back to the States on short notice." "Oh, this is Mr. Thompson, the owner and manager of this apartment." When we told him we were going to have a discussion, Mr. Thompson said he would sit in with us. As we entered the living room, I was shocked by what I saw. Even though only a month had passed, the once lovely space looked like it had turned into a storage room. Boxes of my mother-in-law's moving items were piled up at the end of the living room, still unpacked. Lisa let out a small sigh beside me. When we all took a seat on the couch, Mr. Thompson was the first to speak up. "So, about the rent for this month, when can I expect the payment?" Well, I had deposited the usual $3,000 into the account, but it seems like it hasn't been withdrawn," Kyle said in a sweaty, murmuring voice. He had bed hair just like in the old days. "Did you seriously think it was $3,000? Didn't I ask you to pay just half of the rent at first, remember?" "What? No way. Half? You mean it's actually $6,000? Kyle's face looked shocked before he began to scratch his head frantically. I couldn't help but be a bit impressed by Kyle's lack of memory regarding things he wasn't interested in. "That's right, the rent is $30,000, I clarified, noting his bewildered expression. "What? $330,000? Kyle stammered. "No," I said, "this apartment belongs to Lisa, not some acquaintance of Kyle's. The rent is $30,000 a month. We had a 2-year lease but decided to terminate it 6 months early due to this situation." My mother-in-law's face turned pale and she began hitting Kyle's knee anxiously. "What are we going to do? I sold my house thinking Kyle was earning well and have been spending a lot. What are we going to do?" She trembled, her hands covering her mouth, then turned to Lisa and pleaded, "Lisa, can Kyle and I sign a lease for $3,000 just for half a year? I can't give up living here so suddenly." Lisa's expression hardened at my mother-in-law's brazen request. "Sarah, you're welcome to move back in too," Lisa said, her tone matching her displeasure. I felt my own mouth turn into a frown, mirroring Lisa's. I rented this place to support Sarah's hard work. I won't forgive anyone who tries to kick her out. Lisa then turned her gaze to Kyle, who had closed his eyes and looked down, clearly feeling the weight of the situation. "Leaving this place is no longer a simple matter. And to think how carelessly you've treated things. This sofa, for instance, I can't even bring myself to use it anymore," she said, noting the stains and dirt on the once pristine white leather sofa. "I was planning to have you purchase the heavily worn items after 2 years, so I'll be doing a check now." "What? Wait a minute, I wasn't informed about this," Kyle said, his voice sounding utterly ridiculous. "It's normal to restore a rental to its original state before returning it. If you've misused the furniture and appliances, it's only right to compensate," Lisa explained, knowing Kyle's tendency to forget details. Lisa began inspecting the apartment, sighing heavily as she went through the kitchen. The appliances were likely to be up for purchase. In the bedroom closet, she sighed even deeper. "Kyle, did you wear John's suits without permission? I didn't agree to lend you personal items, and you've treated them roughly. You'll definitely be buying these at full price." Despite being told not to wear them, every suit left in the closet was valued at over $10,000. The only silver lining was that Kyle had worn only 3 of them. "Kyle, I'm so disappointed in you. I trusted you with this house because of you and Sarah. I have no sympathy for anyone who's hurt my dear Sarah." Kyle's face turned ashen as he shook violently, the gravity of the situation setting in. To underscore the point, Mr. Thompson spoke up. "As for me, I need you to pay this month's rent of $30,000 along with the cleaning fee. The $6,000 rent is strictly under the contract with Sarah, not with you, and I need you to vacate the place as soon as possible." But it's impossible to just leave like that. "Sarah, please ask her on my behalf too," my mother-in-law cried out desperately, raising her face and sobbing loudly. "Why should I help?" I replied coolly. "I've already submitted the divorce papers," Kyle sat, "so we're strangers now. I have no obligation to assist a stranger." Mr. Thompson glanced at my mother-in-law with a mix of pity and firmness. "If you can't vacate immediately, I'll have to pursue legal action for illegal occupation." "This is unbearable," my mother-in-law screamed, rising abruptly and storming out of the room. Kyle was left stunned, his face ashen, as if he'd just been struck by a wave of realization. "Sarah, I'm sorry," he said, his voice full of desperation. "I've finally come to my senses. I got carried away thinking I was rich and lost my mind. Now you seem to have come to your senses, I said, maintaining my composure. But it's too late for that. Our trust is shattered, and I've overheard enough about your infidelities to know that starting over isn't an option. We're already divorced, and even though I filed in anger a month ago, I have no regrets and have completely moved on. I gave him a full smile, and seeing my expression, he seemed to give up hope. You've been covering everything but half the rent, haven't you? By the way, how much are you earning now? It dawned on me that we hadn't discussed work in a while. I've just started making over $116,000 a month. I might even reach $120,000 by the end of the year. No way. Why didn't you tell me? Kyle's voice was pleading. Please, give us another chance. He slid off the sofa and collapsed onto the floor, tears streaming down his face, his hair still disheveled from sleep. Part of me wished he could stay that bedraggled, innocent figure, regardless of how much our standard of living had changed. It made me feel a bit sad, even though I thought I was over it. Soon after, perhaps frightened by the threat of legal action, they managed to find a monthly rental and left the apartment. It seemed they had paid off their debts with Kyle's father's inheritance, and by selling their family home, but their finances must be strained. Kyle might not be doing poorly financially, but living within his means should help him manage. After the divorce, he contacted me just once to apologize. While I have no intention of reconciling, I genuinely wish him well. He lamented how hard it was to lower one's standard of living after it has been elevated, reflecting on his mother's lifestyle and hobbies. I didn't ask for alimony from Kyle. Some might think it too lenient, but I believe I was the one who changed. Being in that environment allowed me to adapt to a mindset where such a lifestyle became the norm, which helped me earn significantly. Now, my endeavors are reaching new heights. Kyle and his mother, on the other hand, used that environment to elevate their own standard of living without recognizing their delusion. I now live alone in a $3,600 rental. Though it's not at the same level as my former place, I feel I've come a long way from struggling with an $1,800 rent. I believe in myself and am determined to continue pursuing my dreams,